They thought it was just another rally. They were wrong. At exactly 9 a.m. in Michigan, Donald Trump dropped a bomb so big it sent shockwaves from Wall Street to Detroit. If I'm elected, he declared, every Chinese electric vehicle entering America will be hit with a 100% tariff, no exceptions. The crowd roared. The markets shuddered. Because this isn't just about cars. This is about economic survival. Stick around, because what Trump just unleashed could either save or sink the entire U.S. auto industry. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the real stories behind the headlines. Number 5. Why Trump is targeting China's electrical vehicles. China's electric vehicle industry has exploded over the last 5 years. Brands like BYD Neo and Xpeng have outpaced U.S. rivals, not just on technology, but on price. Some Chinese EVs now sell for as little as $10,000 to $15,000, half or even one-third the price of a Tesla or Ford EV. Trump argues this isn't free market competition. It's the result of massive state subsidies, currency manipulation, and unfair labor practices. According to Trump's campaign, China is dumping cheap EVs to crush the American auto sector, just like it once did with steel and solar panels. His 100% tariff proposal isn't random. It's designed to double the price of Chinese imports overnight, neutralizing their cost advantage. Beyond subsidies, Trump points to China's control over the entire EV production chain. Chinese manufacturers benefit from state-owned mining operations in Africa for cobalt, preferential trade agreements across Southeast Asia for nickel, and massive government investments in battery technology. This gives Chinese EVs a supply chain cost advantage American automakers can't easily match. Trump's advisors argue that without tariffs, the U.S. risks becoming a permanent importer nation dependent on China not just for electronics or toys, but for the future of transportation itself. Adding fuel to the fire, leaked documents from China's Ministry of Commerce revealed a 5-year plan to dominate global EV exports by 2028. The plan includes undercutting competitors on price, aggressive overseas dealership expansion, and state-backed financing for foreign buyers. Trump and his team see this not merely as economic competition, but as a strategic threat to U.S. national security. If the future of mobility, electric, autonomous, connected, is controlled by China, America's industrial, military, and technological edge could erode rapidly. But if Trump wins, will China really back down or double down? Number 4. Immediate fallout for U.S. auto industry minutes after Trump's speech, auto stocks took a hit. Ford shares fell 2.8%, GM dropped 3.1%, and Tesla, which imports some battery components from China, slipped 4.2%. Industry groups like the American Automotive Policy Council immediately warned that tariffs could backfire. They argue that American automakers rely heavily on Chinese parts, from batteries to rare earth minerals. Slapping 100% tariffs could drive up production costs for U.S. companies too. Meanwhile, dealers fear a supply crunch. According to Cox Automotive, 17% of EV inventory in U.S. lots has components sourced directly from China. Cutting off this flow could mean fewer cars and higher prices for American consumers in the short term. The pain would not be equally distributed. Luxury brands like Tesla and Rivian, which have higher margins, might absorb some of the cost. But mass-market players like Ford, GM, and Stellantis, already operating on razor-thin margins for EVs, could face crippling financial pressure. Smaller suppliers could collapse entirely. In 2022, the U.S. imported $6.4 billion worth of EV batteries, 55% of which came from China. Disruptions in the supply chain wouldn't just raise costs, they could delay the rollout of new models and force layoffs across American factories. Consumers, too, would feel the shockwaves. Kelley Blue Book estimates that the average EV price in the U.S. is $53,000. With tariffs, entry-level EVs could become luxury goods again, putting green transportation out of reach for millions. The Inflation Reduction Act's EV subsidies might blunt some of the impact, but not enough to prevent sticker shock on dealership lots. Will American buyers tolerate higher prices to protect American jobs? Number 3. How China might retaliate. If history is any guide, China won't sit still. During the 2018 to 2019 trade war, China imposed retaliatory tariffs on U.S. agricultural exports, devastating farmers across the Midwest. This time, retaliation could hit multiple sectors. Analysts at Morgan Stanley predict China could restrict exports of critical EV battery materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel, minerals where China controls 70% of global refining capacity. Worse, China could target U.S. brands like Tesla, Buick, and Lincoln that actually sell vehicles inside China. Any countermove would escalate quickly, turning a targeted tariff into a full-blown auto trade war. In a worst-case scenario, China could weaponize its control over rare earths, essential for not just EVs but also defense systems, smartphones, and renewable energy technology. A 2019 white paper by China's National Development and Reform Commission already hinted that strategic resources could be withheld during geopolitical conflicts. If China tightens the valve, American manufacturing across multiple sectors could grind to a halt. Beyond materials, Beijing could enact non-tariff barriers, sudden regulatory inspections, environmental compliance audits, or arbitrary customs delays to choke American brands inside China without triggering immediate WTO complaints. Tesla's Shanghai Gigafactory, which produced over 700,000 vehicles in 2023, could suddenly find itself under regulatory siege. If China fights back harder, can America endure the economic pain? Number 2. The bigger strategy, reshaping supply chains. Trump's team argues that the chaos is necessary. The ultimate goal is forcing American automakers to decouple from China completely. In private policy papers, Trump advisors have floated massive tax credits for U.S.-built EVs, penalties for companies using Chinese components, and incentives for domestic mining and refining of rare earths. It's about making the U.S. auto industry independent, even if it causes short-term pain. Trump believes that without shock therapy, American manufacturers will slowly lose global leadership to Chinese EV giants. It's a bold bet. Endure a few years of disruption now to secure dominance for decades to come. The blueprint is aggressive. Proposed measures include a Buy American requirement for all federally subsidized EV purchases, export controls on U.S. battery technology, and massive grants for domestic mineral refining. The plan also involves leveraging trade agreements to form a friendly minerals alliance with countries like Australia, Canada, and Chile to bypass Chinese control of critical resources. Opponents argue that the timeline is unrealistic. Building domestic battery plants takes years. Scaling up rare earth mining without violating environmental laws could take a decade. Meanwhile, consumers would face fewer choices and higher prices. But Trump's camp sees it differently, a necessary sacrifice to ensure that America's next industrial revolution isn't outsourced to Beijing. But will American companies have the courage to rebuild without China? Number 1. What it means for consumers and the 2024 election for regular Americans. The fallout could be brutal. If 100% tariffs go through, EV prices could spike 20 to 40% almost overnight, depending on how much Chinese content is in the supply chain. New, affordable EVs under $30,000 could disappear from lots. Inflation-weary consumers might delay purchases, hurting the auto recovery. But politically, Trump is betting that the pain is worth the gain. He's positioning himself as the only candidate willing to fight for American workers against Chinese economic aggression. In swing states like Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, where auto jobs are sacred, this hardline stance could resonate strongly, even if it comes with economic turbulence. Polling suggests that while Americans dislike higher prices, they distrust China even more. A recent Pew Research survey found that 82% of Americans view China as a major threat to U.S. prosperity. Trump's team is banking on tapping into that sentiment. His message is simple: short-term pain for long-term sovereignty. The 2024 election could become a referendum not just on immigration or inflation, but on the future of American industry itself. Will voters choose globalization and cheap goods or economic nationalism and higher self-reliance. Trump's tariff threat has turned EVs from a niche tech story into a full-blown battleground in America's political and economic future. Will voters choose economic nationalism over short-term comfort? Final thoughts: Trump's 100% tariff threat isn't just another campaign promise. It's a declaration of economic war on China's EV industry. Whether it leads to America's manufacturing revival or another global supply chain crisis will depend on how the world reacts. One thing's certain, the auto sector is now on high alert. If Trump returns to the White House, Detroit's future won't just be about innovation, it will be about survival. Thanks for watching. Drop your thoughts below. Would you support 100% tariffs to protect U.S. jobs? And don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories that matter.